is Ann Beal, and welcome to Living Well, the show that is dedicated to helping you and your family live a healthier life. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you'll stay with us for the next 30 minutes as we talk to Sheri Hanson, who is a teen court coordinator. And we're going to talk about teen court and the teenagers that commit misdemeanors that come to court and how that all works. So stay with us as we work with Sheri and talk about teen court. Sheri.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
How long have you been working with teen court?
I've been here at teen court with the City of North Richland Hills for 3 months.
3 months.
Yes.
Okay, that's not very long.
No.
What brought you to do that, working with teens?
I have 2 teenagers myself, and I love the challenges of working with them. They're real interesting.
How old are your kids?
My kids are 15 and 16.
Okay. So you know what it's like having teenagers.
Yes, I do.
But that made you just want to go work with them more, huh?
They can be a lot of fun. They can be real trying sometimes.
Okay. What did you do before you were teen court coordinator?
Just prior to being a teen court coordinator, I was a in-school suspension teacher, and then before that, I was a police officer for 14 years.
Okay. Well, that's good background for this job as a police officer. So you know how to hold kids accountable for what they do. Tell me a little bit about teen court. If you can just let the audience know, how does that differ from, say, a regular court that adults would go to?
Well, in teen court, what happens is teenagers between the ages of 11 and 19 are issued citations by a police officer, and they have to appear before the municipal court judge with their parents. The judge has the option of referring them to teen court, and if he does, then they come to see me.
Okay. Why would he choose not to send them to teen court?
If they've been in teen court within the last year, he won't send them back.
Okay.
But he also does not refer truancies.
Which, what, missing school? Or late
missing school, not attending school.
Okay, what does he do with those?
Those go before him in regular court.
Oh, really? Because that seems so minor, and yet missing school is not minor, I guess.
Well, I think what he thinks is if they're not going to go to school, then they probably won't go to teen court.
Good point. They won't show up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he handles them himself, or she handles them. Okay. Is the teen court for, when you say teens, is that just 13 to 19, or what's the age group for that?
He takes them as young as 11 and as old as 19.
Do you have very many 11-year-olds?
A few.
What would be the age group that's there the most? I mean, do you have a pretty common age group?
Probably anywhere from about 14 to 17.
Okay. And what do most of those kids come for?
It can vary. Anything from speeding to disorderly conduct. A lot of them get citations at school for fighting or language.
You know, when you think about what's happened in Colorado, the kids there, and that kind of extreme behavior with kids who just fight in school, is that something that could possibly, if they're repeaters that have come through the system and they've fought a lot, would those be kids that you would now be real aware to keep an eye on and help them? And what do you do with something like that?
Well, I think you really are really concerned, and I think everybody tries to, especially since the incident in Colorado, everybody tries to look and try to be more aware and see whether or not they see any warning signals because of the things that have happened recently.
And yet it could be really hard to spot something like that. Even
it's difficult.
Yeah, troubled child. And the families can hide it really well. And the kids learn to hide it really well. What, when you get the kids, you said the judge refers them to you. Can you tell me what you do with them from there?
They come in, first off, they have to pay a $10 teen court fee to be in teen court. That's what it costs. It's $10 to enroll. And then they come in and talk to me, at which time I talk to them about how many community service hours that they're going to work and how many jury duties they're going to do, and about their teen court trial and what will happen.
Do they usually have a pretty good attitude about that, or are they?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Okay. Is it usually you get repeaters? Yes, kids that come through, but
yes.
It's only once a year.
Only once a year is the only time they're allowed to come in.
Okay. When you get repeaters like that, is their attitude, do you see a change? Do you see it helping them? Or does it seem like what percentage would that be? So the kids that just come through on a yearly basis a lot?
I'm just estimating probably 30%.
Oh, so it's not the majority then by any means?
I don't think so.
Okay. Tell me about the majority, what those kids are like that are coming through.
Like I say, kids that have gotten a citation, you're not talking about anything major. Really good kids, sometimes just made a mistake.
I know that they have different, you gave me a list here of the different classes of citations, as you call them. Like equipment violation, that sounds, it would be an easy mistake. Anti-noise violation, would that be playing your music too loud, or what would that be?
Too loud a muffler on their car.
Oh, okay, okay. So I see. No license with them for their motorcycle. Mm-hmm. That's like a class 1, and it says you have 5 classes. Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way up to class 4 being disorderly conduct and language.
Class 4 and class 5 are some of the more serious offenses. They have the most hours that are assessed.
Yeah, it says 45 to 75 for class 5. What do those hours, I see it and I think it doesn't sound that bad, but what kind of hours, when you say service, what do you mean by that?
Those are actual hours that they have to put in for the community. I try to explain it to them, especially if someone comes in with a class 5 offense. I say, I'm here 45 hours a week. I work full time. That's 8 hours a day plus. And you're talking at a minimum of that and up to 75 hours. And if right now we're talking about dockets set for the summer, so I tell them that's maybe up to 2 weeks of your summer vacation is going to be gone.
They don't like that.
They don't like that.
But, I can see that, especially for something like this, the minor in possession of alcohol or theft under $50, it just seems like if you can catch them really in any of these classes and have clear boundaries, clear consequences, and don't go back on them, and have them do exactly what you say you're going to do, and have them feel what it's like without having to pay a big fine or go to jail, that they could really learn from this and change their behavior early. And instead of, you've seen on TV so many times the cities that they get the teenagers, they have a big teenager problem with stealing cars and stuff like that, and they don't have room for them in the jails, they don't have room for them in the court system, so they just keep rotating them back out on the street, and they just keep committing more and more crimes. And it just sounds like this would be a good thing. Does every city have this, or is this just...
Almost all of the cities in the Metroplex have it. Some of the cities combine to have a teen court, especially if they don't have a big problem. I'm really happy with North Richland Hills that we have our own teen court, because it allows us to do so many things that you can't do when you have a lot of cities that combine. And also it allows us to give the kids a lot more individual attention than they get when there's, a lot of different cities involved.
Would that individual attention, would that be you or you?
That's me.
Okay. What do you try to do with them when they come through? I know you just assign them their hours, and the community service, you choose a place for them to work.
Well, actually, they choose a place to work, and a jury of their peers are the ones that assign their hours. I don't assign their hours.
Okay, so their hours aren't set just by that's what the jury uses to kind of help them assign hours?
Yes. When they go to teen court, they have a jury of their peers, and they have that range based on that class that they fall under, and then they assign them between the minimum and the maximum, okay, or either or both.
Okay. When you say a jury of their peers, I assume that's teenagers.
Yes.
Is it teenagers who are volunteering, or is it teenagers who have committed the crimes and are there serving the jury duties?
When they go to teen court, after they finished their trial, then they will come back. Each defendant will come back and serve on juries. So everyone that's on a jury is there because they've already been through teen court and already had a case.
So that's part of their service. That's part of their the penalty that the jury had assigned them was the jury duties and the community service.
That's part of teen court, that they have to do jury duties.
So they've all been there before.
Yes.
So they all know what it feels like. I guess. Okay. Well, are there any kids there, teens there, that are just volunteering, that are learning from that without having had committed any, been given a citation or committed any crime?
Sure. We have teen attorneys. They come in, they serve as a court clerk, court bailiff, and also as a defense attorney and a prosecuting attorney, and they're volunteers.
I know we have a clip of that, and we're going to show you that in a little while, of just the courtroom and how it works. The lawyers for the defendant or the person that's the teenager that's in court is a teenager.
Yes.
These kids, how do they learn how to do that?
We have training. We have 4 judges that volunteer their time. They're all licensed practicing attorneys, and they come in and train these guys.
So they train the teenagers. Do they stay around usually and do that over and over, being the lawyer, the attorney?
We've had judges that have been there now for quite some time.
How about the kids? Do they enjoy it and stay? And
I've had a couple of teen attorneys that have been there for 3 years.
Really? It seems like that would be a great thing to do, if you think you might want to be a lawyer someday, to go there and actually learn how to do that. And the lawyers are the ones that train them, the real attorneys. I think that would be really neat. Do you get a lot of teens that volunteer to do that?
We have currently 18 teens that are active in teen court.
How would they, if there are kids out there that might want to do that, how would they?
They can call me.
Oh, they could call you at Teen Court in North Richland Hills.
Yes, ma'am.
How about the attorneys? How do these people that that you've asked to come, or do they just, do you take other adult volunteers as well?
Oh, we love to have adult volunteers. Volunteers are terrific. Volunteers are what makes our program work.
So you have the judges that are volunteer attorneys. Do you need any other adults to do things?
We always need adults to serve as jury monitors, because when we have a jury that recesses, we need someone back there just to make sure that everything is running smoothly. We need adults for paperwork, different paperwork that we process through the court. And besides all that, it's just a lot of fun for everybody to come and watch.
Yeah, I would think so. I can understand when they're on the jury's at recess, that means how many teenagers are just free? When you say monitor the jury?
Well, what I mean by monitor the jury is they don't actually do a whole lot as far as any saying very much, but they make sure that the jury is doing what the judge instructs.
Okay, and following the right guidelines.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that sounds very exciting. The attorneys that volunteer their time, are they full-time attorneys usually, and they just use their free time?
They are all full-time attorneys.
That's great. Do you need any more?
The judges?
Yes.
I think we have 4, and since we have teen court once a week, that's pretty much, that gives everybody just about an opportunity to serve once a month.
Okay, so that you have covered. How about the monitoring the juries? Do you have enough adults to do that?
We always need adult volunteers.
Okay, and if they want to do that, they can just contact you as well. Is there anything else that an adult could do to help out? You had mentioned paperwork before.
We have some paperwork. It's after the teen goes through his trial, then he's given the paperwork to show him who to contact and where to go, and when he needs to come back for his jury duties.
Okay. So they get all the paperwork ready for the exit
of
the teenager. It sounds like it could be a really fulfilling job for you to see these kids come in and hopefully change or feel like they've paid their duty and they do not want to come back.
I have a lot of moms call me up and tell me that little Johnny has learned his lesson and will not be back. And that's rewarding in and of itself. And also, I've also had some people at the different placement centers where we send them that have told me that they have actually offered some of them jobs.
Oh, that'd be great. What kind of placement centers? That's where they get their hours in?
Yes.
What kind of locations are those? Can you give me an example?
Most of them are local within the city. Iron Horse.
The golf course.
The golf course. We have Imagisphere is in Bedford. It's a children's museum. We have the Community Enrichment Center, which is the food pantry.
Okay.
And so they helped out there to stock the food and help out families in need. Just a lot of different places here in the city.
Can is it just nonprofit organizations that can use the help of the teens when they're getting their hours in?
Nonprofit organizations are the only organizations, and governmental agencies are the only organizations that are available for teens to work at.
Do you feel like you have enough choices of those out there? Or
I think we're doing pretty well at this point. We can always use more.
So the teens are probably, it's hard. Is it hard work for them? Are they cleaning? And
they do a lot of cleaning.
Okay. See, I would think 45 to 75 hours of just drudge work. You would be thankful that you're not having to go to jail or anything. But I would think for a teenager who their time is like the most important thing, having their time to be with their friends and their time to play and be free, that would be very confining and restricting for them. So I would hope that they would learn their lesson that way. It just seems like, today so many people have trouble with boundaries, parents, just from the 80s of just love them to death and just show the kids love and don't be too hard on them and don't discipline them. And that we're coming out of that where people are really starting to believe, okay, no, we have to learn boundaries to say, these are the rules. And when you break them, then this is what happens. And which the city does well. Policemen, you always know if he catches you speeding, he's going to give you a ticket, no doubt. And if you yell at him, you're going to go to jail. We know that. But at home, so often, parents don't stick to that. And actually, it's really hard when you start saying, okay, no matter, this is what I said, and this is what I'm going to do. And if teens aren't used to that, I would think that when they get to this would be, they can't wiggle their way out of this. No talking, no amount of sweet talk, no amount of begging. You're not softy, are you?
I don't think I'm a softy. It's just that it's not fair. It wouldn't be fair to let one not do his hours and then make everyone else do it. You have to be consistent. I think that a lot of them do learn their lessons and are happy after they get done, that it's over with.
Well, I would think so, but don't they? Some of them try to get off, try to not have to do as much, or I would think it would be for a lot of teens who are used to being able to being just real sweet, or they could just find a way to get out of it.
Well, when I have those come up, I just let them know that they have to finish their hours, and if they choose not to finish their hours, then I return them to the municipal court. They can go back and talk to the judge again.
Does that happen?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So what does he do when that happens?
He tries to find out why they didn't complete teen court. And if they have a valid reason, and he feels like it's valid, then frequently he'll give them an extension, give them extra time. But if they just didn't make any effort at all, then he tells them they're going to have to pay the fine.
The sad thing about that would be that would be their parents paying the fine, right? Probably.
Frequently, if they're under age 16 and they can't work, then it's going to be mom and dad paying the fine.
Because I guess at that point there wouldn't be, well, I guess he could have them spend the night in jail or something, but
not at their age. What can happen is if actually they're responsible for the citation, the juvenile is, and if they choose not to pay it, or if mom and dad decide they don't want to pay it, then when they turn age 17, a warrant's issued for their arrest.
And can they pay it at that time?
They can pay it.
Okay. Well, that's kind of a delayed. So it sounds like the whole system is really trying to not put all the burden on the parent. That the child is responsible for their behavior, so they have to put in the hours. They have to do the service. Instead of the parents having to pay the fine. Because then the child really doesn't. Who knows what the parent will do to the child? They may ground them or take the car away, but not necessarily. So then the parent would be really the one paying the penalty.
It is a big commitment and especially if the child is not driving, it's a big commitment for the parent and the child to do teen court and to complete it, because the parent's going to have to transport this child to these places.
That would be if they're under 16, under driving age?
Yes.
But the good thing about that, though, the parents' involvement at that time, if they're younger than that, would be that the parent would probably need to be supervising them a little more and be more aware of what's going on with the teenager, to be more involved. And I would think driving around for 45 to 75 hours would be very involved with them. How do you feel about, and this is just kind of off the cuff, just your opinion. I've been hearing on the radio since the Colorado stuff that a lot of talk show hosts are talking about that, and even some senators, that the city should hold the parent of the teenagers responsible, and that a parent should be fined or spend time in jail if their child commits a crime, or because the parent wasn't keeping watch on them and making sure they were behaving, and if they had searched their room and made sure they didn't have any drugs or guns and it's scary to me. And my kids aren't teenagers yet, and your kids are teenagers. I mean, just think about that. That would mean that when your child walks out that door and gets in their car when they're 16, and you can only hope they'll do what you've taught them, but they might not.
I think it's a real good idea in theory. I think there's a lot of things you can't legislate. Good parenting skills aren't necessarily one of them. You just cannot force people to be a good parent. I think it's just something you have to want to do.
And you wonder if it could be a crime if they don't watch them. I mean, you have to wonder what that behavior would bring out. I don't know. It's just I had never heard that before. And just these last couple of weeks has been an interesting theory to me. And I can understand what they're saying, get the parents involved with the children, and yet at the same time, I think, gosh, I do the best I can possibly do with my kids and commit time to them and really try to teach them. But the day I give them the car keys and they go off on their own, it's going to be a scary day as it is, And all I can do is hope that they live out what I've told them and what I've showed them. But we've all made mistakes when we were teenagers.
Oh, sure.
We all did not do what our parents told us to do. So, that's scary to think that, I could go to jail for what my child does when she leaves in the car. It's scary. So I was wondering how you thought about that. Because it seems like this whole system is set up around having the child have responsibility for their own behavior, and tries to take the burden off the parents and passes it to the child.
I think ultimately that's your goal, because you want everyone to be responsible for themselves. And if you keep saying, well, the parents are going to have to be responsible for their child and carrying it to extremes, it's going to be real difficult. And at the same time, the child is not going to take that and feel like that they have to be responsible.
Right. And if they haven't, and they've kind of been used to the parents who take care of a ticket, and get a lawyer and get them off.
That's right.
There was a thing on the radio the other day about a child who wrote a report for school, and it was racist. It was just real, and it was ugly. And so the child got suspended. Well, the parents are suing the school because they didn't want their child suspended. And he has freedom of speech. He should be able to say whatever he wants. I was thinking, God, I don't remember when I was in school having freedom of speech.
I don't think I had many freedoms at all when I was in school.
I don't either. And I thought, that is a demonstration, though. So often the parents think they're helping the child by helping them get off so that they don't pay the penalty, but it's those consequences that make us change. I mean, unfortunately, you'd think as human beings if everything was good and smooth and that we just behave really well, but we almost have to feel pain and feel consequences of what we do before we will change our behavior. And it's, to me, it's very harmful to any child to take those consequences away. And so I liked this system a lot. I felt like it really, it reinforces what I believe as far as how we should discipline our children and hold them accountable, as I know that I would be held accountable if I committed a crime. Because we don't want to see young kids be punished like adults for such kind of citations. We don't. We want them to be able to learn from a lesser punishment and then go on and change. And so, that's why I think this is great. But if they don't, and they just buck the system and we're not tough enough on them, they could end up
It's all about them learning from their own mistakes, and it's all about them taking responsibility for themselves.
Well, I think that's great. Tell me about your background as a policeman as far as how you feel like this has benefited you here in your job.
I think it helps me because, like I say, I love kids, and I've worked around them before, and I know a little bit about the law, and I know a little bit about courtroom procedure that I've learned through my years in law enforcement, and I think it's just been real helpful.
Well, that's great. I appreciate you coming out and explaining to all of us about the teen court system and kind of familiarize parents with, if their teen ever does get in trouble, that'll be there for them, and that there's a system in place to really help them with their child. Mm-hmm. Thanks for coming, Sheri.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Living Well, and we hope you'll be with us next time when we go further into working with teenagers.
The North Richland Hills Municipal Court is taken over by teenagers. They are the defendants, the attorneys, and the jury. Teen court is based on the idea that peer pressure will keep many juvenile offenders from becoming repeat offenders.
As you have heard, Philip got his ticket for defending himself against this bigger boy. The boy came and pushed Philip twice. Not once, but twice before Philip did anything to defend himself.
If Bethany Groman sounds like an attorney, that's because she is. If she looks a little young to be practicing law, that's because she's only 17.
Do you believe if you hadn't punched him, he would have kept pushing you?
This is the city of North Richland Hills Teen Court. In this courtroom, the attorneys, jury, and defendants are all teenagers. The only adult you'll see here is the judge.
We'll talk to the client, our defendant, and we'll get their side of the story, and then we'll argue the case just like any other attorney would downtown.
They're judged by their peers, they're represented by their peers, and the punishment here fits the crimes that they do.
As I already mentioned, the state takes fighting very seriously. This could have been avoided.
The court clerks, bailiffs, and attorneys are volunteers.
Your Honor, the witness is allowed to give her opinion, I believe. And I was really shy when I first started at teen court, and now I just get up in front of people and talk, and it's really great. It's helped me a lot to be an attorney. I know I'm going to be a lot better thanks to teen court.
Teen court proceedings are real.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
The punishment is also real, and it sticks. Defendants who think they're taking the easy way out are in for a rude awakening.
We take this court very seriously. We admonish the kids when we first begin every session that this is a serious court.
If you have earrings in your ears, young men, take them out. I do not want to see them. If you are addressing me, it is yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, judge, no, judge. I am not your friend. I don't want to hear yeah and no.
Defendants are here because they've committed a misdemeanor crime. A fight at school landed 14-year-old Philip Cortez in teen court.
This guy came up and pushed me while I was going to my bus stop. And then he pushed me again. Then I hit him.
Unlike cases in other courtrooms, teen court defendants must admit they're guilty before they go to trial. They pay for their crime through community service and involvement in teen court.
Mr. Cortez, the jury, having listened to the evidence, have determined that the appropriate sentence for your disorderly conduct is 45 hours of community service and 4 jury duties. You might want to thank your lawyer. You all are excused.
Why did you choose to go through teen court?
Well, it was either that or pay a fine, and I thought the fine would have been the hard way out for me, but it would have been the easy way out for him.
They see that there's a different way to go. I mean, we in fact have gotten some of our lawyers from kids who've come through this program and been inspired by this program. We have an opportunity here at Teen Court to help these children before they get to the adult system, before they get to the juvenile system. And I think that's what we're doing out here.
Philip says he's learned his lesson.
To try to walk away whenever I have chances.
The North Richland Hills Teen Court wants to make sure it's a lesson he won't soon forget. If the juvenile offenders successfully complete the teen court program, their cases are dismissed and don't appear on their record. By the way, Teen Court is always looking for teen and adult volunteers. For more information, call 817-581-57